Why does God not help us when we call? Book title: The Silence of God, The Test of Faith and Human Growth. Author, Vahid Zekavati. Introduction. The Silence of God and the Mystery of Unanswered Prayers. Every person, at various points in their life, experiences moments when they find themselves in the midst of severe trials and crises. Moments when it feels as if the world is pressing down on them, despair seeps into their heart, and they see no glimmer of hope on the horizon of their life. In these times, a person instinctively turns to God. They pray, plead, and fall to their knees, seeking divine assistance with the expectation of a clear and immediate response. But suddenly, the silence envelopes everything. No sign, no clear answer, and no help arrives. What happens in these moments? Why does God, who has promised to always be near, remain silent? Why, when we need His presence the most, do we receive no response? This mysterious silence raises a profound question in people's minds. Has God forgotten me? Or perhaps, does God even exist? Many people, faced with this lack of response, distance themselves from their faith, becoming confused and even rebellious. They feel abandoned, as if God has ignored their prayers and needs. But does this silence really mean neglect? Has God truly left us to grapple with our problems on our own? This book addresses this grand and complex puzzle. What does God's silence mean in the moments when we need Him the most? Why does this silence exist? And could it be that this silence is part of a larger test that we have not fully understood? Perhaps instead of viewing God's silence as a sign of indifference, we should see it as an opportunity for growth and testing. Perhaps God, like a loving parent, is training us, and this silence is part of the developmental process and test we must endure. Throughout this book, using tangible examples from everyday life, we will explore the concept of why God sometimes remains silent, and how this silence is not a sign of neglect but a part of the path we must traverse to achieve spiritual and emotional maturity. God's silence is akin to a parent allowing their child to face challenges alone in order to learn and develop skills that would be impossible without these trials. This book is a journey in search of the meaning of God's silence. A journey that begins in moments of crisis and despair and leads to a deeper understanding of the relationship between humans and their Creator. Are you ready to join us on this journey and uncover this great mystery? Are you ready to understand the meaning of God's silence and discover the true essence of this divine test, rather than succumbing to doubt and despair? Our answers are on the way. Chapter 1. The Mystery of God's Silence. In each of our lives, there are moments when we feel we have reached an impasse. Life's circumstances become so difficult and complex that the only option left is to turn to God. We pray with all our being, cry, scream from the depths of our hearts, and seek help. In these moments, the only thing we expect is a sign, an answer, or even a sense of comfort from God. Yet, instead, what we receive is silence. A profound and mysterious silence that shakes our hearts. What does this silence mean? Has God forgotten us? Are our prayers insignificant? Or perhaps there is no one on the other side of our prayers? These questions, in themselves, are the beginning of an inner journey. A journey in which we seek answers that can give meaning to this silence. Why, when we need God more than ever, do we not receive a response? Is this silence a sign of God's indifference, or is the matter more complex than we perceive? For many people, this silence is a major challenge to their faith. They ask themselves, if God exists, why does He not answer? If God is compassionate, why does He remain silent in the moments we need Him most? These questions gradually lead to doubt and even despair. Many individuals, when faced with this silence, may lose their faith and distance themselves from God. Why? Because in these moments, they interpret God's silence as abandonment or forgetfulness. But is this silence really a sign of indifference? Could this silence have a deeper meaning? Perhaps God is testing us rather than providing a direct answer. Maybe this silence is an opportunity for our growth and development. Just as a child needs to face life's small challenges to learn and gain confidence, perhaps we also need to grapple with our problems to discover our own abilities. Here, the concept of God's silence becomes more intricate. As a compassionate creator, God may not always want to respond immediately to our prayers. Not because He does not care or love us, but because sometimes, life's challenges are opportunities for our growth and advancement. Just as a teacher in a classroom does not always answer every student's question but encourages them to find answers on their own, God may sometimes be calling us to solve our own challenges. This silence of God is a type of test. A test of our faith and capabilities. Perhaps God is giving us the chance to show how we face difficulties, how we seek solutions, and how we maintain our faith even when we do not receive an immediate response. It is a test of our patience, will, and strength. But the question we must ask is, are we ready for this test? Although many of us may wonder why God remains silent, the truth is that this silence is part of a divine educational and formative process. Like a loving parent, God does not abandon His children, but He does not always prepare everything for them. Just as parents allow their child to experience some life challenges to learn, God challenges us so that we may grow. This chapter marks the beginning of our journey. A journey in which we seek a deeper meaning of the relationship between humans and God. God's silence is neither abandonment nor indifference, but part of a larger plan for our growth and maturity. The question of, why does God remain silent? Gradually transforms into another question. How can I find the true meaning in this silence? The answer to this question is an inner and challenging journey. Are you ready to undertake this path with us? Chapter 2. The 2-year-old child and divine hidden lessons. Imagine a 2-year-old child learning to walk. They have not yet mastered their movements, fall to the ground, get up again, and try once more. The parents stand nearby, watching their child's efforts with a loving gaze, but they do not lift them up. They let the child try again, even though the process is fraught with difficulty and challenge. At first glance, it may seem like the parents are indifferent or inattentive, but the reality is that they are seeking something greater. They want their child to grow stronger, more independent, and confident. This is the hidden lesson embedded in every divine silence. You might wonder at this moment, why do the parents do this? Couldn't they lift their child up immediately whenever they fall and help them? Why do they prefer to remain silent and observe from a distance? The answer to this question is simple. Parents know that if they are always by their child's side and help at the slightest problem, the child will never develop the ability to handle life's challenges on their own. Growth and maturity require experiencing difficulties, and these experiences are often accompanied by hardships and challenges. Without these difficulties, the child would never acquire new skills. Now, extend this example to the relationship between humans and God. Sometimes, we are like that 2-year-old child in our lives. Faced with problems and challenges, we fall and get up repeatedly. We seek help from God, but we receive no response. These seemingly painful moments are actually akin to parental training for the child. God, as an aware and loving Creator, does not want us to be perpetually dependent on Him. He wants us to discover our own abilities and emerge stronger and more mature through challenges. Does this mean God's silence is a sign of indifference? Absolutely not. Just as parents lovingly observe their child, God watches us with love. However, He knows that intervening in every moment of our lives is not beneficial. It would prevent our growth and progress. Sometimes, we need to wrestle with problems, experience them, fail, and rise again to discover our inner strength. This divine lesson is one of the deepest concepts in the relationship between humans and God. In moments when we feel that God has become silent and left us to our own devices, He is actually giving us the opportunity to discover our abilities. It is a chance to demonstrate how we can face challenges, maintain our faith, and emerge stronger and more determined from these trials. The question we should ask ourselves at this moment is, are we, like that 2-year-old child, ready to face challenges and learn from them? Or do we expect God to come to our aid every time we fall? Perhaps answering this question could change our perspective on God's silence. We may realize that this silence is not a sign of neglect but part of a divine educational process that helps us become stronger and more independent individuals. By the end of this chapter, we come to an important truth. Just as a 2-year-old needs to face challenges alone sometimes to grow, we too need to seek our own solutions in some moments of life without immediate responses from God. These moments are opportunities to discover our inner strengths and achieve true growth. God, in His silence, gives us the chance to show who we are and what we are capable of. But are we ready for this challenge? Chapter 3. Why have we come to this world? At least once in their lives, every person has faced the question, why have we come to this world? This fundamental question directs our minds toward the philosophy of life and the nature of our existence. Are we here just to enjoy, suffer, or pass the time? Or is this world a testing ground for measuring our worth and willpower? At first glance, life appears to be a series of everyday events: birth, growth, work, family, joy and sorrow, and eventually death. But is this all there is? Is life merely a brief passage, or is there a greater secret hidden behind this simple appearance? Questions like these challenge every inquisitive mind and invite exploration into the meaning and purpose of life. If we look at sacred texts, ancient philosophies, and old wisdom, we see that most of them emphasize that earthly life is more than just an accident or a plaything. They describe this world as a classroom, a laboratory, or a field for testing humans. This world is a place where we must prove ourselves, discover our hidden skills and talents, and achieve higher spiritual levels by overcoming tests and challenges. At this point in the discussion, a question arises. If the purpose of life is not merely to pass time, then what are these tests and challenges for? What are we supposed to prove in this world? The answer to this question reveals our true nature. We have come to this world to show who we are and how much worth and willpower we possess. Every test we face in life is an opportunity to prove ourselves, not to others, but to ourselves and to God. Imagine life as a large university. We are students in this university, and each challenge or problem we face is, in fact, an exam. An exam that helps us assess our abilities and show how prepared we are to face difficulties. This world is a place where we must prove ourselves. If God were to come to our aid every time we faced a problem and solve it for us, what would be left to prove? How would we demonstrate our worth and talent? The tests of life are exactly the stages we need for growth and development. These challenges force us to think and strive harder and help us discover our hidden abilities. Just as a student must demonstrate their skills and knowledge by passing various exams, we too must pass these tests to reach spiritual maturity. One of the greatest goals of life is to prove our worth. Before coming to this world, we existed as spirits in another realm. However, the spirit alone cannot experience all challenges and difficulties. To overcome limitations and hardships, we needed a body. This body helps us understand material and tangible experiences and gain deeper lessons about ourselves and the world. Another question that might occupy your mind is, why must we go through these tests? Why can't God discern our worth without these hardships? The answer to this question lies in the concept of freedom of choice. God has given us the freedom to make decisions in this world. These decisions reflect our true nature. Through our choices, we show how ready we are to face challenges and how we can achieve success and growth through difficulties. This world is an opportunity to prove ourselves, to grow and evolve, and to attain higher positions in the next worlds. If we understand this opportunity and recognize that every challenge and difficulty is actually a test, our perspective on life will change. We will no longer see problems as obstacles but as lessons that guide us toward maturity and evolution. In conclusion, we have not come to this world merely to live and pass time. We are here to prove ourselves, show our worth, and reach higher spiritual levels by overcoming life's tests. Every problem and challenge we face is an opportunity for growth and development. These tests are part of the divine educational process that helps us achieve what we are truly capable of becoming. Chapter 4. Challenges, Bridges to Spiritual Growth. Why are challenges an inseparable part of human life? This question has made many of us reflect. When life becomes difficult, our minds are filled with questions. Why me? Why so much hardship? And most importantly, what role do these challenges play in our spiritual and personal growth? Humans are inherently inclined to avoid hardships. Nobody likes to experience pain, suffering, failure, or life's problems. But have you ever thought about where we would end up if there were no challenges in life? Imagine a life without any problems, everything always going according to our wishes, with no failures or obstacles. In such a situation, would growth be possible? Could we discover our capabilities? The simple answer is never. Challenges act as bridges that guide us from a superficial and mundane world to the depths of spiritual and personal development. Every challenge is an opportunity to confront the hidden layers of our existence and seek deeper answers. For many of us, the first time we deeply contemplated life and its meaning was when we faced a significant problem. It is these problems that force us to move away from superficial thinking and search for a greater meaning. Why are challenges so important? The first and foremost reason is that challenges compel us to reflect. They push us out of our comfort zones and force us to find solutions. In this process, we learn a lot about ourselves, our abilities, and our limitations. Every challenge is an opportunity to develop new skills and capabilities and to gain new experiences from the heart of difficulties. However, challenges do not only end at skill development. They also play a significant role in our spiritual growth. When we face a problem that seems to have no solution, we often turn to a greater force than ourselves. This greater force is God. Challenges make us strengthen our faith and trust in God and realize our true dependence on Him. Challenges not only make us reflect but can also humble us. Sometimes, when everything is going according to our wishes, we may forget that the world is bigger than us and our individual needs. Life's problems act as mirrors that lead us to greater self-awareness and show us that no one is immune to the trials and difficulties of life. This reality brings us to a deeper understanding of human solidarity and our need for God's help. For many people, moments of extreme hardship have become turning points in their lives. These moments, though initially seeming bitter and painful, over time turn into experiences that change their lives and open new paths for spiritual and personal growth. One of the greatest lessons to be learned from life's challenges is that every problem we encounter is an opportunity for further growth and evolution. If we view life as a spiritual journey, challenges are the obstacles and bridges we must cross to reach our destination. Without these obstacles, the journey would have no meaning. In fact, spiritual and personal growth is impossible without challenges. If everything in life were always easy, there would be no need for effort, reflection, or the search for a deeper meaning. At this point, a question arises: if challenges are essential for our growth, then why do they sometimes seem so difficult? Why are some problems so large and complex that we feel there is no solution? The answer to this question lies in the concept of acceptance. Many times we resist problems, and this resistance makes them seem larger and more complex. If we can accept problems as part of life's journey and instead of resisting them, learn from them, many challenges will turn into opportunities for growth and change. Ultimately, what we learn from challenges is not only practical skills and new abilities but also a deeper understanding of life's meaning and our connection with God. Every challenge we face brings us one step closer to spiritual and personal growth. These bridges guide us from the material world to the spiritual world and remind us that life is not limited to problems but that within these problems, there are greater lessons for our growth and evolution. Therefore, life's challenges are not obstacles to progress but bridges to spiritual and personal growth. They compel us to think and reflect more, humble us, and deepen our faith and trust in God. Every challenge is an opportunity to discover our hidden abilities and reach a higher level of spiritual development. Chapter 5. Divine tests. Why does God allow us to suffer? One of the deepest and most challenging questions that humanity has faced throughout history is, why does God allow us to suffer? Do these sufferings come into our lives for no reason, or are they part of a larger plan? This question has occupied the minds of many people. When we face problems, illnesses, failures, and emotional pains, many of us wonder if God is watching, and if He is, why does He allow us to suffer so much? In this chapter, we will examine this question closely and try to understand the why and meaning of suffering in the context of divine tests. But before answering this question, we need to realize that human perception of suffering and hardship is often limited to a materialistic and superficial view. We generally see suffering as a problem that needs to be solved quickly. But to truly understand the meaning of these sufferings, we need to look at them from a broader perspective. Are these sufferings merely to torment us? Does God, who is always described as the most compassionate and generous, want to inflict pain upon us? Or is there a hidden meaning behind these hardships that we have not yet grasped? These questions lead us to a deeper reflection on the nature and purpose of suffering in life. To answer these questions, we must pay attention to a fundamental principle in religions and spiritual philosophies. Human life in this world is only a part of a larger journey. This life is a test that God has set for us to prove our skills, powers, and faith. Just as students face tests in school to measure their knowledge and skills, we face tests in this life that evaluate our abilities and the level of our faith. But why tests and sufferings? To answer this, one can refer to a simple truth: growth and progress are only possible through effort and facing challenges. No growth is possible without enduring hardships. Just as a bodybuilder must lift heavy weights and endure physical strain to strengthen his muscles, our soul and mind also need challenges and suffering to grow and advance. Sufferings and divine tests give us the opportunity to discover our hidden abilities. When we face problems, we realize our inner capabilities. These difficult moments force us to use our inner strength and gain greater self-confidence. In reality, sufferings and life's problems show us that we are stronger than we thought. Another reason for sufferings is that they bring us closer to God. Many times, when everything is going well in life, we may forget that we need God. But when we face a major problem with no apparent solution, we turn to God and seek His help. It is in these moments that our faith and trust in God are strengthened, and our connection with Him becomes deeper. But can't God completely remove our problems and sufferings? Can't He provide an easier way for our growth instead of putting us through these tests? These questions relate to the concept of free will and the purpose of life in this world. If God were to solve all our problems, what would be the point of this life and its tests? If we never faced a challenge, how could we prove ourselves? This life is like a laboratory where each person must achieve growth and evolution through their efforts. God has given us free will to make our own decisions and overcome challenges. If God always solved everything for us, what would be the meaning of human effort and will? These sufferings and problems give us the opportunity to discover our inner values and reach a higher level of spiritual growth. Sufferings are part of God's larger plan for the training and testing of humanity. Just as a sports coach challenges his trainee to improve their abilities and pushes them to work harder, God places us in these tests and difficulties to help us reach the highest level of our capabilities. These tests not only make us stronger but also help us gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. Therefore, divine tests and sufferings are not signs of God's indifference or cruelty, but parts of a larger plan for our spiritual and personal growth. These sufferings challenge us to discover our abilities, draw closer to God, and reach a higher level of faith and spirituality. Chapter 6. Silence is not indifference. In moments when we feel engulfed in darkness and solitude, receiving no response from God, the first thought that comes to mind is that God has become indifferent and may have even forgotten us. But is this silence really a sign of indifference? Why does God sometimes not answer our prayers and cries? Is this lack of response a sign of His neglect, or is there a deeper and more complex issue behind this silence? In this chapter, we will explore the true meaning of God's silence and demonstrate that this silence is not a sign of indifference, but rather an opportunity for us to prove our abilities and inner growth. Questions about why God does not respond and leaves us to our own devices arise in many people's minds, and to answer them, we must look deeper into the relationship between humans and God. God's silence does not mean abandoning us. Rather, within this silence lies an opportunity that challenges us to utilize our inner strengths and make decisions without relying on direct guidance. This silence is like a scene in a grand play, where God observes from behind the curtain, waiting for us to perform our roles in the best possible way. To find a tangible example of this silence, we can consider the relationship between a coach and their student. A coach may choose, at crucial moments, not to assist their student, leaving them to face challenges on their own. This behavior is not out of indifference but is meant to allow the student to use their own abilities and skills and become stronger and more independent through the process of confronting challenges. Similarly, in certain moments of life, God may choose not to intervene directly and solve our problems, but rather leaves us to find solutions on our own. This silence is an opportunity for us to use our inner strength and to enhance our decision-making and initiative. When God does not intervene directly in our problems, He allows us to tap into our potential and become more independent and stronger. God's silence can also be an opportunity for spiritual growth. When we do not receive a response from God, we might experience doubt and even drift away from our faith. However, these moments of silence help us strengthen our faith and understand that God is always present, even if we do not hear Him. These moments give us a chance to experience trust in God without relying on direct answers. True faith is the faith that remains steadfast even in God's silence. One of the main reasons for this silence is that God does not want to always provide solutions for us. He does not want us to be perpetually dependent on constant guidance. Just as a parent cannot always be by their child's side to solve every problem, God does not want us to be constantly reliant on Him for every minor issue. He has given us free will, which means the ability to choose and make decisions. In moments of God's silence, it is up to us to use our will and intellect to find the right path. But is this silence always a test? The answer to this question depends on the circumstances. At times, this silence may represent an opportunity for growth and a test of our faith and trust. At other times, it may indicate that we need to seek answers on our own. God has always provided us with the tools and resources needed to solve problems. If we constantly wait for direct answers, we might miss golden opportunities for learning and growth. This silence sometimes leads us on an inner journey, a journey in which we must find answers ourselves. In this journey, we come to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our inner strengths. These moments of silence are like mirrors that compel us to look within and discover our unknown potential. Additionally, God's silence may signify that we are going through an important phase in life. In many religious and spiritual stories, moments of God's silence usually precede a major change or profound spiritual advancement. These moments help us prepare for greater changes and reach a higher level of spiritual growth. In conclusion, God's silence is never a sign of indifference or neglect. Rather, it is an invitation to self-discovery and to uncover our inner strengths. God gives us the opportunity to utilize our abilities and talents and to embark on a path of growth and advancement. Although this silence may seem challenging and difficult at first, it ultimately helps us become more independent, stronger, and spiritual. God's silence is like an opportunity that challenges us to prove ourselves. These moments are not signs of neglect but indicators of God's trust in our abilities. The more we can trust ourselves and use our will and intellect in these moments of silence, the closer we become to spiritual growth and advancement. Chapter 7. Soul and Body, a Duality for Spiritual Growth. Human beings have always sought a deeper meaning to their lives, and the question of why a soul from a non-material world has descended into this material world is one of the fundamental human inquiries. What role does this mortal, unlimited world play in the growth and development of our soul? Why has God placed us in this material body, And what is the purpose of this duality of soul and body? At the beginning of this chapter, the question arises, if God's sole purpose was the nurturing of the soul, why were we born into a material world with all its challenges? Why does the pure soul subject itself to the tests of this world? Could we not have remained in our spiritual and pure dimension? These questions open the door to one of the most important concepts on the path to spiritual growth, the coexistence of soul and body. In the material world, the body acts as a tool for experiencing, learning, and growing. Our soul, in order to fulfill its abilities and evolve, needs to face physical and material limitations and challenges in this world. Without the body, the soul cannot fully experience pain, pleasure, or emotional and psychological changes. It is the body that provides the opportunity for the soul to find its path and grow through these experiences. Therefore, we come into the material world to overcome these hard tests and experiences, strengthening our soul with each challenge. The relationship between the soul and body is like the cooperation of two fellow travelers who must reach their destination together. Our body may one day come to an end, but the soul will continue its journey. This life is, in fact, a transitional stage, a stage where our soul learns, grows, and prepares itself for its final journey. One of the main reasons for God's silence in difficult moments is to test the harmony between the soul and body. Whenever we are engaged with physical and material challenges, we have the opportunity to prove our spiritual strength through them. The soul, using this mortal body, learns how to overcome obstacles and continue its spiritual path. This is the point many people throughout history have reached, that the soul and body must be in harmony to achieve the highest level of growth and development. But what makes this harmony between soul and body so important? Here, the role of divine tests becomes evident. Every physical challenge we face in life is an opportunity for the soul to practice patience, courage, faith, and effort. Without these challenges, the soul would never discover its hidden powers. Just as an athlete needs physical training and effort to strengthen their muscles, the soul also needs these physical and material experiences to strengthen and evolve. In this material world, everything is shaped by contrast and duality. Day and night, joy and sorrow, health and illness. And these contrasts are what allow us to grow. If we only had one constant and unchanging state, the soul would never benefit from various experiences. The contrast between soul and body, material and spiritual challenges, all provide the environments that God has created for us to grow and evolve in this complex spiritual journey. In fact, one of the most important aspects of this material world is that it forces us to think about our physical limitations and use them for our spiritual growth. Every time we face physical or material problems, it is a test of whether we can use these limitations to strengthen our soul. These moments are like exercises that God provides us to showcase our abilities and reach our highest level. But perhaps the question arises, is the harmony between soul and body always achievable? The answer to this question lies in a deeper understanding of the relationship between these two aspects. The body and soul often seem to be in conflict. The body demands material desires, while the soul seeks higher and more spiritual values. But God's aim is for us to achieve balance through this conflict, a balance in which we attend to both our physical needs and our spiritual needs. The balance between body and soul is the point where we can reach the peak of spirituality. At this point, we realize that God does not want us to focus solely on one dimension of life. Instead, He wants us to blend both our physical and spiritual dimensions and maintain balance between them at every moment of our lives. This is why the material world is the best setting for divine tests. In this world, we face physical and material limitations, problems, and challenges, and this provides us with the opportunity to strengthen our soul through these experiences. Every challenge we encounter in this world is an opportunity to enhance the harmony between the soul and body. This chapter of the book reminds us that living in this material world is a unique opportunity. An opportunity that God has provided for us to achieve the highest level of spirituality and growth through harmony between soul and body. Every physical or material challenge we face is a lesson that helps us utilize our soul's hidden abilities and reach a deeper spirituality. Chapter 8. Life's Challenges, Tools for Growth. Our lives are continually faced with challenges and problems that sometimes seem overwhelmingly daunting. These challenges, whether in the form of illness, poverty, the death of loved ones, or other difficulties, often exert tremendous pressure on our spirit and body. But why should we confront these problems? Are these challenges merely created to test and torment us, or is there a greater purpose behind these hardships? At the beginning of this chapter, we pose the question, how should we view life's challenges? Should we see them as serious obstacles and problems that only bring us pain and suffering, or can they be viewed as opportunities for our growth and development? How can we turn these problems into tools for strengthening our spirit and character? Life's challenges are akin to sculptors who skillfully and meticulously transform raw stones into beautiful and valuable forms. Although these problems may seem difficult and harsh in the moment, they are actually opportunities for us to better understand ourselves and achieve a higher level of spiritual growth. When we face serious illnesses, it might seem that such conditions lead only to pain and suffering. However, from a spiritual perspective, these illnesses can be seen as opportunities for deeper reflection and self-discovery. Illnesses can lead us to a station of contemplation and self-awareness where we can understand and utilize the true values of life. Poverty is another challenge that seems more like an impediment and difficulty rather than an opportunity for growth. However, poverty can remind us that true values in life are not found in material wealth but in contentment, love, and humanity. Poverty invites us to reflect and reconsider our life priorities and helps us distance ourselves from material attachments, bringing us closer to spiritual values. The death of loved ones is another profound challenge many of us face. This experience brings great pain and suffering, and we may feel that this loss is unbearable. However, from a developmental perspective, the death of loved ones can help us understand the depth of meaning and purpose in life. This experience can remind us that material life is only a part of our spiritual journey, and what remains are the memories and spiritual values we leave behind. All these challenges, although they appear hard and unbearable, are actually tools that God provides for our spiritual growth and development. These problems are like blacksmiths who, with their blows, transform us from raw material into beautiful final forms. Through these challenges, we learn how to discover and utilize our inner capacities. How can we turn these problems into tools for our development? The first step is accepting the reality that life's challenges and problems are part of a larger divine plan. Accepting this reality helps us approach problems with a positive attitude and an open perspective, using them as opportunities for growth. The second step is using these challenges to learn and strengthen the personality traits that we might not otherwise attain under normal conditions. Every problem and challenge we face is an opportunity to enhance patience, courage, faith, and other abilities. With this approach, we can turn life's problems into opportunities for growth and development. Thus, life's challenges are part of our spiritual growth and development journey. By viewing these challenges positively and using them as tools to strengthen our spirit and character, we can achieve a deeper meaning in life and reach a higher level of spiritual growth. Every challenge, problem, and difficult experience we encounter is an opportunity to become a better version of ourselves and move closer to the ultimate goal of life. Chapter 9. The ultimate goal, proving worthiness to God. Human life is continually confronted with deep and complex questions. One such question that has always occupied the human mind is, what is the ultimate purpose of our life? Is our purpose in this world merely to pass the days and nights, or is there a greater goal at work? Have we come into this world to show God what we are worthy of? In this chapter, we will answer these questions and explore how life's challenges and problems contribute to this purpose. At the beginning of this chapter, we need to address the question of what the ultimate goal of life is and how we can understand this goal. Is life merely a series of experiences and moments proceeding without a specific purpose, or is there a spiritual and divine purpose hidden behind each moment and experience? To answer this question, we need to look deeply into life and examine our relationship with God. The ultimate goal of life is to prove our worth and value to God. This means that we are here to demonstrate our abilities and characteristics through facing challenges and problems, proving to ourselves and to God what we are worthy of. These challenges, from illness and poverty to family and professional difficulties, all serve as tools for evaluating and strengthening our inner qualities. How can we view these challenges as tools for proving worthiness? One way to understand this is by examining historical and personal examples. History provides many examples of individuals who, by facing significant problems, were able to showcase their abilities and prove their worth to God and humanity. These individuals, through perseverance and faith in greater goals, were able to leverage life's challenges and achieve great successes. In our personal lives as well, challenges and problems provide opportunities for personal growth and advancement. When we encounter a problem, we have the chance to prove to ourselves and others that we can confront and overcome difficulties. This confrontation is an opportunity to demonstrate our abilities and positive traits, and helps us move closer to the ultimate goal of life. Challenges are, in fact, tests created by God to measure our worth and inner qualities. These tests remind us that life is constantly changing and evolving, and we must be ready to utilize these changes and display our abilities in various conditions. By passing these tests and facing difficulties, we reach a stage of growth and refinement that allows us to prove our worthiness to God. Therefore, the ultimate goal of our life is to prove our worth and value to God. Life's challenges and problems are tools for this proof and help us achieve a higher level of spiritual growth. By viewing these challenges as opportunities to strengthen our inner qualities and prove our abilities, we can get closer to the ultimate goal of life and make the most of our experiences. Life is an opportunity to demonstrate our worth and inner values, and these challenges are part of the path of this grand journey. Chapter 10. Freedom from dependence on answers, embracing divine tests. In this final chapter, we address one of the most complex and profound aspects of the human relationship with God, accepting divine tests and freeing ourselves from dependence on immediate answers. Throughout life, many of us have faced moments of problems and challenges where we expect God to respond quickly and directly. But should we really depend on immediate answers? Can we find the truth of growth and the real meaning of life in divine silence? At the start of this chapter, questions arise that lie deep in many of our minds. Why should we seek immediate answers from God when facing life's problems and tests? Does this dependence on immediate answers prevent us from a deeper understanding of life's meaning and spiritual growth? How can we find peace and acceptance in the face of divine silence, and use this silence to benefit our growth? Accepting divine tests requires a shift in our attitude and approach to life. Instead of waiting for immediate answers from God, we should learn to trust divine tests and use them as opportunities for our growth and development. This change in attitude helps us free ourselves from dependence on immediate answers and get closer to the truth of life's meaning. In facing divine silence, we need to learn how to utilize this silence and use it as an opportunity for reflection and contemplation. Divine silence is not a sign of indifference but an opportunity for us to delve into our depths and establish a deeper relationship with ourselves and God. This silence reminds us that life is not only about immediate and clear answers but requires acceptance and a deeper understanding of meaning and purpose. Freedom from dependence on immediate answers allows us to focus not on the immediate outcome but on the process of our growth and development. With this approach, we can use life's problems and challenges as tools to strengthen our spirit and character, and reach a stage of spiritual growth where we understand the truth of life more deeply. Embracing divine tests and freeing ourselves from dependence on immediate answers is part of the path to spiritual growth and enlightenment. By accepting this reality and changing our attitude toward life, we can get closer to the ultimate goal of life and use challenges and problems as opportunities for our growth and improvement. Ultimately, this chapter invites us to remember that divine silence is not merely a sign of indifference, but an opportunity for growth and discovering a deeper meaning in life. Conclusion. This book has sought to answer one of humanity's greatest questions. Why does it seem that God remains silent, and does not respond when we are in distress and facing difficulties. In this journey, we have used tangible examples and profound concepts to illuminate the mystery of this silence. By examining the relationship between parents and a 2-year-old child, we discovered that silence and non-intervention in the face of problems are part of the process of upbringing and growth. Just as parents allow their child to face challenges to gain experience and confidence, God provides us with the opportunity to utilize and grow from the challenges and difficulties of life. We also realize that the ultimate goal of life is to prove our worth and value in the presence of God. Life's challenges and tests are tools for this proof and help us display our inner abilities and characteristics. In this process, God's silence is not an indication of neglect, but rather an opportunity for growth and reflection. Understanding why we should free ourselves from reliance on immediate answers and instead focus on the process of growth and development helps us attain a deeper meaning of life. Divine silence is a chance for contemplation, reflection, and spiritual development. This silence reminds us that life is not just about seeking immediate and clear outcomes, but requires a deeper acceptance and understanding of meaning and purpose. Ultimately, this book invites us to recognize that in the face of life's challenges and problems, by trusting in divine tests and accepting God's silence, we can reach a stage of spiritual growth and a deeper understanding of life. Life is a journey towards discovering truth and meaning, and every test and challenge we encounter is an opportunity for self-improvement and elevation. With this understanding and acceptance, we can achieve true peace and satisfaction in life and ultimately come closer to the ultimate goal of life.